monster mile. They know it as a concrete cage that can crash cars and crush championship dreams.
It's really, really loose. You do the best you can.
Oh, we got trouble.
Right rear tire's gone on the 88 car.
Uh-oh, you see smoke coming out of this 18 car.
Blow it up, blow it up.
His championship hopes have basically evaporated. Also having issues, the 11 car, Denny Hamlin, been on and off pit road several times. Talk about peaking at the right time. Momentum coming their way here in the chase.
Tight enough with 4 tires, and we'll pass anybody that gets 2. You know what I mean?
We heard Carl Edwards say he wanted 4. He'd pass anybody that got 2. He ended up with 2 tires.
We'll see how this works. If it works like last time, we'll have no worries.
Yeah, 10-4.
I think that the 4 tires now are starting to overhaul Carl Edwards.
Greg Biffle wins back-to-back in the 2008 chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup. Greg Biffle has been the best of the best in the first 2 rounds of the NASCAR chase for the Sprint Cup. And now we come to Kansas, where Biffle won a year ago. Here are the point standings after 2 rounds of NASCAR's version of the playoffs. You see Greg Biffle now tied for second spot. The big losers in Dover, Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Denny Hamlin, both dropping back 5 places to 9th and 11th respectively. And some of our chasers have struggled in practice here today. For more, here's Mike Massaro.
Well, Doc, looking at the speed chart, there's 3 chasers that stand out, beginning with Kevin Harvick. He was 23rd fastest overall, but his teammate Jeff Burton had even bigger problems. He was 31st on the speed chart. I spoke with him not too long ago, and he said one of the problems was they only got to make 1 qualifying run before practice ended. During that time, they were a little bit loose. He said since practice ended, they've made minimal changes. The worst chaser, though, Denny Hamlin, 32nd on the speed chart. They were chasing that car throughout practice as it went from both ends of the spectrum, from loose to tight, and that's where they ended up in qualifying trim. I spoke with one of the crew members to ask him, on a scale of 1 to 10, what would you say the amount of changes you made on that car were? He said, at least a 6, Shannon.
Yeah, Mike, 3 of the past 4 Kansas races have been won from a non-chase driver. So this could be the weekend that we see the spoiler. And if you want to try to guess who that spoiler might be, you just want to take a look at morning practice session. Martin Truex Jr. in this 8 car was fastest on the speed charts. Now, I spoke with Martin after practice, and he told me this is one of the best handling cars he's had in a long time. And that's certainly something you want to hear from your driver. So can Martin Truex Jr. back up his practice time this morning, or will there someone else get on the pole? It's all coming up. Sprint pole qualifying from Kansas.
We welcome you live to our ESPN coverage of NASCAR Sprint Cup Series qualifying from Kansas Speedway here in Kansas City, Kansas. Stop number 3 in the chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup here for 2008. We welcome you inside our pit studio. Cars are lined up on pit road along with Dale Jarrett, Andy Petrie. I'm Jerry Punch. Glad to have you with us. And guys, there are 7 different tracks on the circuit that are 1.5 miles in distance. Now, they're all the same length, but they all have something unique that sets them apart. What makes this track different from others in terms of racing and now in particular qualifying?
The banking here, it's only 15 degrees, and that's going to mean these guys aren't going to have that banking to go in and lean on. The racetrack itself is slick. The temperatures are up in the mid-80s here today. These cars, these new cars that we have, they haven't raced them here before. They haven't been here qualifying, obviously, so they have less downforce in the rear. So all of that means they have less grip. They've got to go out here, and in 1 lap, they have 2 laps to get it done, but probably just 1 lap on the tires. They're going to have to try to get all the speed they can. I look for these guys to have be pretty busy inside the cars in trying to get that fast lap, Andy.
Yeah, one of the things that makes this track great for racing is that it has lost some grip, and these guys can move all over it. But for qualifying, it's very slick, and it's hard to set up for. Keeping the back end under these cars when they get into the corners and still have them where they'll turn through the middle is really the challenge that these guys are going to have setting the cars up.
Jimmy Johnson is a 2-time pole sitter here, and he's one of the quick cars in practice today, but there could be some surprises. Mark Martin was up there as well, and so was A.J. Allmendinger. Lots of motorsports coverage yet to come your way this weekend. Coming up after qualifying, we'll have live coverage of the NASCAR Nationwide Series final practice, and of course NASCAR now tonight at 7 o'clock Eastern Time. NASCAR Nationwide Series at Kansas tomorrow at 3 o'clock Eastern Time. NASCAR NASCAR Sprint Cup Happy Hour tomorrow at 6:30 Eastern. The O'Reilly NHRA Mid-South Nationals qualifying tomorrow at 10:30 Eastern time. Then on Sunday at 1 o'clock, live flag-to-flag coverage, stop number 3 for the NASCAR Sprint Cup cars at Kansas, live on ABC. Back at Kansas Speedway, getting set for NASCAR Sprint Cup Series qualifying. 45 cars lined up, 43 will make the field. The driver who was the fastest in the one morning practice session, Martin Truex Jr., standing by with Shannon.
Yeah, we got Martin Truex Jr. sitting inside his car right now. Obviously fast in practice. How do you feel about your chances to get the pole here today?
I'm optimistic. We'll just have to see. We're going out pretty early. It's a good bit hotter than it was earlier, so we'll just see. We've got our best pro Chevrolet. It's been good all day. Hopefully we'll put a good lap in and end up somewhere towards the front.
Now, when you're getting ready to sit in your car, I've seen some of the other drivers checking out the clouds, seeing if maybe some cloud coverage. You do any of that before you get in the car?
You can't change it. No sense worrying about it. So just focusing in on what I need to do here on this lap to get a good one, and you really won't get a second chance, so the first one will be it.
All right, Martin Truex Jr. looking to capitalize on that first chance, Doc.
Trying to get that car on the pole. All the DEI cars, all 3 DEI cars, 3 of the 4 were in the top 10 in practice. How do these guys do at the remaining 1.5-mile tracks? You take a look at the wins there. Jimmy Johnson has been good. Jeff Gordon, who was the winningest active driver on 1.5-mile racetracks. Still looking for that first win. There are the tracks. 5 of the final 8 races in the chase are on 1.5-mile ovals. The other 2, of course, Talladega and Martinsville.
Well, that's pretty impressive what Jimmy Johnson's done there, really in a short amount of time, that he's got that many on just this type of racetrack.
And the 5 races they have run thus far on 1.5-mile ovals, it has been 2 wins to Edwards, 2 wins to Kyle Busch, and 1 win to Casey Kane. You see the guys lined up here to qualify. What about the draw, the luck of the draw? How does that affect speeds here at Kansas?
It's going to affect it a little bit because it's hot today and the sun is out and it's blaring down on the racetrack. And as we go, it'll take a little while for this qualifying session. And as we go, it's going to come down, and it's going to help. I think it'll help the guys that are going late.
Yeah, I think normally those first guys, and Brian Vickers is the first car out, they would really not like this scenario. But our nationwide practice just ended about 10 minutes ago, so I don't think it's going to have as big effect on the racetrack as what it normally would whenever there's generally been an hour or even that hour and a half in between these guys' last practice and then qualifying. So it may be a little bit better, but I still think it can't be any advantage to going early.
It's always a psychological disadvantage.
Yeah, nothing
anyway.
else. Yeah.
And we saw in the morning practice session, there's a lot of time taken to change a car over from race setup to qualifying setup. Here is Vickers, the first car to go out. He was the pole sitter at Michigan. Qualified 4th here for this race a year ago. Had a top 10 finish. Brought his car home in 8th position.
He ran a 31.64 in practice, and that's what we'll be watching for to see how he backs that up, whether he can go a little quicker or slower. And that'll tell us a lot about the racetrack.
Yeah, very important right here. Getting down into turn 3 and getting your speed built up right here coming off of the 4 to get to the start-finish line. That's as important because as we heard Martin Truex talk about, that first lap is going to be the best one for most of these guys.
Brown's car looks pretty stable getting down in the corner, right down on the white line.
Yeah, hung out just a little bit there. As long as you can hang on to it, that's a good, fast way around.
11th overall, as you mentioned. Andy mentioned his time and speed in the morning session.
He's going to lose some time right there. He never did get the car down to the white line in turn 3 and 4, Andy.
Well, he made up for it right here. He went completely below it. How's that?
Maybe that averages out.
Yeah, 31.62. He does back up his practice speed. Actually, just a tick quicker.
It's a pretty good lap. I think if you ask Brian, he would probably say, man, if I could have got the car down just a little bit over there in 3 and 4, because it just makes you hesitate a little bit getting back to the throttle as hard as you want to.
You're standing up on the truck as a crew chief and you see that, and sometimes you wonder, you can't tell from a distance whether the car's loose or tight. You have to wait on the driver to really tell you. Sometimes the car is so loose that he can't really turn the car down because he's afraid it's going to spin out, so he just stays up on the racetrack.
You saw those 2 front tires, the Goodyears, turn to the right and back to the left in the middle of the corner where he turned the wheel to catch the car.
Yeah, we have that advantage from here, but when you're on the truck, you can't see that.
Casey Kane.
Here's a qualifier for you.
Yeah, this whole team, Gillette Evernham, all of the guys seem to get in good qualifying laps most of the time, but we've seen Casey Kane win a lot of poles over the years. this is just the type of racetrack that he's usually good at.
Even when their cars are really not that great, when they go on Fridays, they really seem to find a way to make a fast lap.
You can see Casey really arc his car into the corner there. I think that's what Brian Vickers before him was trying to do into turn 3, but never got it down. But you can see Casey's car really turned in the center of the corner.
Casey has 16 career poles. His last pole coming at Infineon back in June.
He's coming close here. And he does it by just a little. Actually, he does it. He ties the exact same time as Brian Vickers to the 1,000th of a second.
That's pretty amazing.
First two cars run the identical lap speed.
Had like a 3160, a little bit faster than what Vickers run.
Well, that's what you had, but it was actually tied. That's pretty good, though, to clock it within a couple of hundreds.
It's pretty good.
I'm usually not that good from up there.
Casey Kane will actually be listed as the fastest car because he's ahead in the points, just ahead of Brian Vickers, actually.
Yeah, that's the way the ties are broken, is by point standings.
Casey was the pole sitter here back in 2006, started 29th here a year ago, but managed the top 10 finish. Here's Jamie McMurray, who had that great run going. No doubt that he probably had the best car at Dover until being involved in an accident out of turn 4 last Sunday.
I guarantee you one thing, Andy, he's not hoping that his car does that when he gets down to turn 1. You saw that wiggle going into 3 as he's trying to get up to speed.
That doesn't give you that warm and fuzzy feeling when you pile this thing down in the corner, does it?
No, it sure doesn't.
It looks good so far.
Yeah.
He says, I'm not scared.
See, he lost just a little bit of time on his exit of turn 2 to both Casey Kane and Brian Vickers.
He's gaining some back right here. Can we have another three-way tie? It's getting close again. Looks like he's going to be third.
Yeah, he's going to be about a 70.
Yeah, 71.
Jamie, his best start of the year came last week at Dover. He qualified 5th. He is the 3rd quickest of the 3 cars that have gone thus far. When we come back, still 42 cars yet to run. NASCAR Sprint Cup pole qualifying ongoing at Kansas Speedway. And here's a guy we're watching. Last week he sat on the outside of the front row. 49-year-old Mark Martin in the Army Chevrolet. He was 3rd quickest in practice this morning.
Mark's got a little momentum going, too, from last week. He ran great. Actually had a real shot at winning that race in the last few laps before those Roush guys had to decide it on their own. But he was right there with them. Was fast in Nationwide Series practice, too. I think it was 2nd quick in that practice session. Oh, look at this green line, boys.
Yeah, by quite a bit here right now.
All the way down onto the apron near the grass, and Mark Martin will give him something to shoot at, boys.
31:40.
Yeah, picked up a little bit from what he had run in practice. What, a few hundredths of a second? So, nice lap by Mark Martin.
Mark had won 41 career poles. His last pole at Richmond.
Good deal, guys. Thank you. Awesome job today. We were very conservative there. That was, we left it tight.
And if that's conservative and indicative of what he can do on Sunday, look out for that 8 car.
Yeah, if that's a veteran for you, leaving it a little bit there tight and know what he had to work with.
He knows he probably left something on the racetrack there that somebody else will go get and possibly beat that time. But that's a pretty solid lap time.
Here's his teammate Martin Truex, who was the fastest car in the practice. And now that was 1 lap of practice. He turned that bullet lap, and he was not consistently quick in that session.
It was actually the very first lap of practice he laid down, the fastest lap of the session. He's got a good one going right here, too. Very close to Mark Martin's lap getting into turn 3.
Yeah, right on track with Mark, as you
actually
can see.
Lower now. He does. He arced, I think, throttle through the middle of the corner, but he lost just a little bit on that exit.
Yep.
And a little underneath the line there. He will come by being 2nd quickest to his teammate. So DEI cars are 1-2 thus far in qualifying at Kansas Speedway. When we come back, Kurt Busch and Greg Biffle. Back for qualifying, the 2-car, Kurt Busch, who led the most laps in this race a year ago, but struggled mightily in the morning practice session with that 2-car, the Penske Dodge.
Yeah, he was only 27th on the speed chart.
was actually worse than that early in the session, but they picked it up, found a few things.
So the attitude of this car, they really got the back end up. Stood up here trying to maximize the attitude of this car, and I guess the downforce, Andy, that's what they'd be after here?
Yeah, the highest you can get that rear wing in the rear of the car, the more downforce it'll make. I mean, you just get more clean air on that wing, and really the whole body. If you can just put that body into a wedge attitude, it'll force the car into the racetrack.
Crew Chief Pat Tryson there watching. This team had really started getting their act together, for the want of a better term, the last couple of weeks. Good run at New Hampshire. They had a good run going early on at Dover and were involved in an incident there. Sort of took them away from any shot at having the win, but they were one of the better cars last week.
He's going to be disappointed with this lap, 31.93, and that's the slowest of the 6 guys that have run so far. Mike?
And catching up with Casey Kane, pretty solid lap. What'd you think?
Yeah, we picked up 10th and a half with our Budweiser Dodge and felt pretty good. We kind of looked at a little bit of things that Elliott was doing with their car. They went in that direction a little bit, and it helped us some, so that was good. And hopefully that'll be a top 15. I think we were 15th in practice and already beat Vickers, so maybe we'll get in the top 10. Who knows?
You mentioned Elliott. We spoke with him during practice this morning. He was extremely excited about his chances of perhaps winning the pole today. How close are your setups?
Well, they're still a bit different, but yeah, he was really good in practice. So I think hopefully he has a shot and put a Gillette Evernham car on the pole. That'd be pretty cool.
And one of them's already gone. We'll still wait to see what Elliott does, Doc.
And Mike, here's the Biff. Here's the man, the guy that's won back-to-back in the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series. 2008 chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup. This is his Pocono car, the car they had for both Pocono events.
I don't think that's the lap that Greg was looking to go through, or the corner that he was trying to make through the middle and exit of turns 1 and 2 there. He lost a lot of time, and that hurt him getting down the backstretch. This car was a lot higher. I don't think he got the grip that he was looking for down in the first corner. 31.73, that is 6th.
Missed the bottom by 4/10 again.
They won't bother making a second lap here because the tires lose so much grip on that after that first lap that it's really not, it's not worthwhile of even going another lap and risking the car.
Yeah, they're literally losing their grip. They're using up a lot of the tire trying to get up to speed in turns 3 and 4. They get good through 1 and 2. By the time they get back to 3 and 4 on their actual lap, there's not a lot left there. So you don't want to have to make that up unless you just really mess up. And you heard Greg Biffle there say that he missed the line by 4/10 right there. So that hurt him, but there's no reason to try to get another lap in there.
Bit of a theme going on here at NASCAR Sprint Cup in terms of back-to-back winners. Michigan and Bristol, Carl Edwards, Jimmy Johnson did it at California and Richmond, and Greg Biffle has done it in New Hampshire and Dover when the chase started. So those two having the biggest impact as he has now moved up to a tie for second in the chase points. Some news this week coming out of the Red Bull camp involving this driver, A.J. Allmendinger.
Now, this guy's actually racing for a job right now. He wants to get some attention and try to get it right for next year. He's got a few things working, but he doesn't have anything done yet. He wants to stay here.
I know if I was a car owner, I'd sure be looking at him. I've been very impressed with the little amount of seat time that he has. It's a good lap for him right here too, but I just think he's made a lot of progress and has a lot of talent.
While you watch AJ's lap, let's check in, and Mike is caught up with our current pole sitter.
And of course, that's Mark Martin. He had a real solid first practice. We had to expect that he put up a good lap. Did you get everything out of it?
Well, I got everything out of the car, I think, that time. But, with one more adjustment, there's a lot more in the race car. We chased some stuff around there in practice. And, we got close there, but we needed one more pretty good little change. And I think the thing could have really gone. But it's a good run. Tony Gibson and the U.S. Army team just give me such great stuff that even when it isn't perfect, it's pretty good.
Yeah, pretty good. But is it good enough to hold up for the pole?
I have no idea what I ran. And if I sat on the pole with that, I would be flabbergasted.
He could be pretty excited by the end of the day, Doc.
Could be very excited. Yeah, boy, what an appreciative driver. Mark Martin, always patting those guys on the back in the garage area. Here's Dave Blaney, who had a very good run last week at Dover. And this is a team that's been snake-bitten this year, not of their own doing, been involved in some big cracks after possible top 10 finishes were taken away. Good to see this team bounce back.
It'd be nice to see. These were the very type of racetracks that Dave Blaney and this team were running really well at last year and the early part of this year maybe, but they have struggled a little bit, seem to get things back on track a little bit. You can see him struggling with some rear grip right there off turn 4.
That's the trick of this track. You just got to get that rear end stuck under the car, getting in the corner. If you don't do that, you really don't have a shot at making a good lap.
It used to be that you really fought the car being too tight through the center of this corner and then on the exit also, but these guys, you can tell, are really chasing the back end around.
That is faster than he ran in practice. His practice session this morning, the 31.92, was 29th of the 45 cars, and that was a 31.89. So that clocks him in right now 8th of the 9 cars that have gone.
And generally, whenever you pick up anything from practice to qualifying, you feel pretty happy.
Oh yeah,
about that.
I mean, that's the thing you want to do is you want to pick up, no matter what. You want to try to pick up some, and Mark Martin picked up a little bit in his lap, and he's on the pole.
We talked about drivers who made a big jump last week at Dover. No one made a bigger one than this guy. Michael Waltrip started 40th and finished 10th, and it wasn't fuel mileage, it wasn't weather. He drove this car into the top 10.
Yeah, he did a great job, and he was 21st in practice. So it seems like Michael and this team and everybody at MWR are getting things going a lot better. And I know that Michael really enjoys this racetrack. See him up the racetrack a little bit right there. Looked like the car bottomed just a little bit in the center of the corner, maybe with the splitter, and that shot him up the track a little bit.
These guys are building better race cars. They're bringing faster cars to the racetrack. They're making good decisions, and it's just starting to work out for these guys. This is a really young team. This is their second year.
That's what we all keep forgetting, You look back and you think about these great teams that we have here. What Michael turns in at a 31.92. He's going to be a little disappointed with that. I think that the exit of both the 2 and 4 hurt him a little bit. But this is a young team that's getting a lot better with each and every race.
Michael slows down Elliott Sadler, a pole contender, when we come back in a moment. Saturday night means college football on ABC. We see a primetime Big Ten matchup featuring the Fighting Illini of Illinois taking on Penn State's tremendous offense, or catch the Virginia Tech Hokies facing the Nebraska Cornhuskers. Saturday night college football presented by Southwest Airlines on ABC at 8 o'clock Eastern Time. Leading Rebestos Rookie of the Year contender in the 0-1 car, Regan Smith.
He's a teammate of the 2 guys that are on the front row right now. But he was actually one of the slowest of the 4 DEI cars in practice. That's Dan Stillman, the crew chief. I'm sure he went over and compared notes with these other guys because they were extremely fast.
Yeah, but he's struggling still here.
He's the slowest of the guys that have run so far. Just barely under 32 seconds.
Regan has a 3-point advantage in the Rookie of the Year standings over Sam Hornish. He has been the top finishing rookie 8 times this year. His best finishes of 14th have come on the short tracks at Martinsville
grip all the way up off.
And Bristol.
Whole car, no grip whatsoever.
Well, you hear him talking about no grip up off the corner. Said he didn't have any front or rear. It makes it difficult to stay in the throttle and get the speed that you need to.
Next car to go out and qualify was a subject of a bitter debate among my 2 experts here prior to us coming on the air about Elliott Sadler. Both of them believing he would be in the top 3, and maybe one thinking he would be on the pole. Let's see who was right here. Elliott, very good in the morning practice.
Well, I just predicted that Mark Martin would out-qualify. That's all. I think Elliott's going to have a great lap here, and he is so far.
Yeah, Elliott's a great qualifier, and this race team is just really good at getting these guys, Casey Kane and Patrick Caponte and Elliott, good qualifying setups. If they could transfer that over to the race, it'd be really good. That's a lot higher on the racetrack, and I'd like to see him right there, but he seems to be carrying some speed. Take it on off there, Elliott.
Oh, it's going to be close.
Can he hang on? Oh, he's in the red.
He lost it just a little.
Where'd he wind up? Second. Oh, that's too bad for you, Dave. Sorry about that. Sorry about your luck,
might have to talk to him about that entrance into 3 there.
Yeah, he just couldn't turn the steering wheel.
In case you folks at home may not realize, what happened was Dale Jarrett thought Elliott might be on the pole, and of course Andy Petrie gloating now because he thought that Mark Martin might just edge him, and right now Andy's got the advantage. But it wasn't. You were
it was
almost
a good fight. It was a fair fight.
It was close.
That Garmin colors look good on that car.
That's a good-looking car. That's good effort by Elliott.
It was.
Yeah, really good. And I know they're really looking for something. We heard him talk in the practice show that they felt like that the Charlotte test session that they just had Tuesday and Wednesday really helped this race team. And they're in need of that because, to be quite honest, they've struggled quite a bit in the races here.
That could equal his best start of the year, second at Phoenix. Here is Paul Menard, going out to qualify. A lot of discussion the last couple of weeks. This name, Paul's name, been in the headlines about where he will be in 2009. Will he be back at DEI? Somewhat of a free agent. Some discussions that he may be with Yates Racing next year.
Yeah, you're hearing some rumors of that, and they've got this car pretty fast this weekend. They were in the top 10. They were 9th in practice. This is Paul's kind of racetrack. He's a good mile-and-a-half race car driver.
Well, a good lap going.
Yeah, he's got a great lap going now. He's going to threaten Mark Martin's pole speed.
Yeah, he came close. He's going to miss it by a little. He's going to be about the 4th fastest car here, it looks like.
He was the first-time pole winner this year at Daytona in July. And, DJ, you're right. He's 4th quickest, clocking in behind Martin, Sadler, and Truex. So 3 of the top 4 right now are DEI cars. So give a pat on the back to the folks at DEI.
Yeah, they've got something going on right here because these guys have been good all day, and they've been good over the last few races, too.
Let's go down and check in where Shannon's caught up with a driver who knows what it takes to sit on the pole at this place.
Not only does he know what it takes to sit on the pole, this car knows what it takes to sit on the pole. You're one of the drivers who spent the entire first session in qualifying trim. You think it's going to pay off here today?
I hope so. We had a good practice. It seemed like the track was changing a little bit at the end of our practice session. So I think we've got a shot at it. Mark put up a time. It's pretty good and kind of in the ballpark of what we ran. So I'm hoping we got another 10th or 2 in it. We can be up there. If not, be in the top 4 or 5 and have a good start spot.
Now, I read this week that you guys have learned that this car, the smallest adjustments really affect this car. How do you approach practice when you know that even the smallest adjustment can really throw this car off?
At times you're scared to death to make an adjustment because you don't want to mess it up, and this car seems more sensitive than cars we had in the past. The tolerances we're dealing with, a 16th of a packer to keep the car off the ground makes a big difference today, where it didn't. 16th of an inch on the valance with the old car wasn't a big deal. So everything is getting tighter, and throughout the year we've become more confident in making decisions. At the same time, we're not certain those decisions are the right ones every time. It's hard to explain, but we're getting smarter every week and making better decisions.
All right, certainly a balancing act with this new car. Jimmy Johnson looking for another pole here with this 48.
He seemed very confident, Shannon, in the 31 car. Well, Jeff Burton was 30th in practice, and right now he is the slowest of the 14 that have gone out to qualify thus far.
His car looked extremely harsh on the bump stops and over the bump, all of the bumps getting in the corner. It was doing this porpoise thing that I just don't like to see when you got too hard of a bump stop there and you don't have that thing set just right. It's just not working good.
Sure, that's not a lot of fun to drive.
Yeah, so even on the straightaway, this car is bouncing kind of back and forth across the front to rear, and that makes it very unsettling getting the corner.
Next car to go out to qualify, the only 2-time winner at this racetrack, Jeff Gordon, who won back-to-back in 2001 and 2002. In practice, he was 14th quickest. He ran a 31.75. That was his best lap.
Like a pretty solid lap so far for Jeff.
He lost a little bit getting into turn 1, but then kind of stabilized from there. It's like he gave up a little speed getting down to the corner. 7, that's not too bad, 31.67.
Let's go down and check in where Mike is caught up with Elliott Sadler.
And a real good lap. You would expect that he's real excited about it, but Elliott, looks like you're a little bit disappointed with your lap.
Yeah, I'm pretty disappointed. My guys did a great job. That set of tires didn't feel right. Just they had some shimmies and stuff in them and didn't feel like they had the grip my other ones had. So we got to see what about the codes and stuff like that and see where we went with that. But I'm proud of my guys. They got a pretty fast car, and to run that fast, the way this thing felt was pretty good. But we pretty good in race trim today. Garmin Dodge, hopefully be on the top 5. Track should get a little bit better as we go, and we should be okay. We'll see what happens.
We are hearing quite a few guys out there making note that there's very little grip. What do you think of the track condition?
Yeah, it's about the same as it was in practice. We ran about the same speed as we did in practice. So it's always now with the nationwide cars practicing all the way up till time that the Cup cars get ready to qualify, it helps with the grip thing. It's not like it's been sitting and soaking with no cars on it for an hour, hour and a half, and let all the oils and stuff get to the top. So that definitely helps if you have an early draw to be able to do that. So it wasn't too bad.
Well, Doc, Elliott Sadler posted a pretty solid number, but he's a little disappointed. He thought he had something for the pole this afternoon.
Very close for him. It was close a moment ago for the 88 of Earnhardt Jr. He was in the green, and now coming in between 3 and 4, he goes back in the red. He was 5th quickest or 6th quickest in the morning practice. Can he get it in the top 5? 7th. Dale Earnhardt Jr. going out to qualify. When we come back, Tony Stewart and Jimmy Johnson back in a moment. Qualifying continuing at Kansas Speedway. The 28 car of Travis Quapple out to see what he can do to get this car in the field. Both of the Yates Racing cars last week at Dover really stepped it up in terms of qualifying. Both look to have a good day on Sunday.
Yeah, as good as they were there, they were about that bad here in practice, or off the speed on the charts anyway. During practice, they just didn't seem to be able to get their cars up to speed. They didn't look like they were working on race setup that much. They just couldn't find the speed there. And you could see Travis fighting his car right in the center of the corner, trying to get it off. That's not where you want to be exactly to run a really fast lap.
This car is so finicky. You know, you can have a great setup for a mile track like Dover and come here and just be totally out to lunch. And we've seen that with quite a few teams that, you know, they get one kind of segment of racetracks worked out pretty good, and other tracks they just cannot seem to get on anything.
You can just see the back end of that car hung out right there, and as much as he's wanting to give it throttle, you just can't do what you need to do to run that fast lap.
And remarkably, DJ, that's almost a 10th quicker than he was in practice, and he's still the third slowest of the 17 that have gone out right now. He's 15th overall.
Yeah, you can see him really work the steering wheel, trying to get everything out of it that he possibly could. Shannon?
Good, how are you? All right, we're down here with Carl Edwards, your points leader. I know that sounds pretty good to you. This is one of the tracks that we only come to once a season. How much does it change from year to year?
You know, I don't know. It seems like it just loses a little grip, you know, which is good. That's a lot of fun to come to a track where you got to modulate the throttle and slide the cars around. But I really like coming here. You know, we had a really good day this morning with Office Depot, the small business and NASCAR winner. We got a leopard stiletto on the back of my car. It's a salon, a Mystique salon, won it. So we've been having fun with them, and I hope this thing's fast because a win here would mean the world.
Yeah, so how is the car? What do you expect from not only qualifying today, but the race on Sunday?
I don't know. You know, watching qualifying, you know, Jamie and Greg both ran what I thought for me would be a pretty good lap, but it doesn't look like it's going to, you know, hold up very well. If we can run a 50 or a 60, that would be pretty good. We got a good draw. Bob, I'm sure Bob's confident in it, but I was awfully loose in practice.
All right, we're going to have to get a shot of that stiletto in the back of his car before we let him go out, guys.
I'm going to go on a limb here and argue that might be the first leather stiletto to ever make a qualifying run in NASCAR, at least in the modern era. Here's Tony Stewart, who was 10th overall in practice. He is 7th in the chase points, and that lap there he is not going to be pleased with at all.
No, that's extremely slow, and he slowed down a ton from practice. He ran a 31.62 in practice, and there you see he ran a 32.28. That's probably a sign of a car that's extremely loose.
Yeah, and I think this racetrack's getting slicker as we go on here. You know, we talked about was it a good thing to go out early. I'm not sure that after those first couple of cars in particular went that the racetrack wasn't as good as it was going to be right then, because it's just continuing to heat up, and everybody seems to be fighting that grip issue.
Here's the car that Tony will have in his stable next year. Obviously, the Stewart Haas Racing for 2009. Right now, the Scott Riggs driving this Haas effort, Chevrolet. Speculation as to where he'll be going in 2009. Possibly a couple of offers for a driver out of Bahama, North Carolina, just outside of Durham, who started out in the NASCAR Craftsman Trucks, moved to the NASCAR Nationwide Series in the last couple of years, just getting his feet started, feet wet here in NASCAR Sprint Cup.
Yeah, he might opt for a second lap if he hadn't put too much tape on there, because he just couldn't keep the. If I were driving that, I don't know that I would want to, but yeah, he just hadn't been able to keep that car down at all.
Especially going into 3. I've seen some guys that have cars that are really not handling well go across that big patch getting in the corner and don't seem to be able to pull it back down to the bottom of the racetrack. They fight the car over that right there, that patch he just crossed.
Yeah, you can see it's not working out too good for him.
Well, at least he held it a little lower this lap than he did last lap, but he was a little bit slower getting there.
He had run a 32.03 in practice, so that first lap was a 32.14, so he should be able to hopefully get back, and he's closer to his practice lap. He runs a 32.085, and that's 18th of the 19 cars that have gone.
You're right, Andy. Keeping it down there just made a little bit of difference, because you know the tires weren't as good.
Yeah, he lost a lot of grip in those tires on the first lap. So, yeah, he just struggled there on that first lap, and that was the lap he needed.
Yeah, the only driver so far to take 2 laps. It's not something these guys want to do, and most of the time the engine tuners have asked them how many laps they plan on running, and I'm sure that most of them are saying 1 because of the lack of grip that they have. But sometimes you just have to go on. He knew that he missed that first. Well, that is different.
There it is, Doc.
Leather stiletto. I thought he said he had one in the car as well. Thought you had to use driving.
Maybe on the back.
Okay, I got you. Well, we'll check out after he qualifies. Okay, we could look when they take a tarp. Maybe it's hanging in the mirror. Our producer said.
Could be.
Here's a 38 car. You mentioned these guys that struggled in practice. David Gilliland was 43rd on the practice sheets.
See, losing time, and you see that down the backstretch. I assure you that's not engine. That's just the fact that he couldn't get back to the throttle off of turn 2, and that just carries all the way down the straightaway. You can see him struggling. That lack of speed continues on around the racetrack. We can see here he's
he picks
15.
it up quite a bit from practice, though. He was actually in the 32-second bracket in practice, 32.13, but that lap there, 31.97.
Just ahead of his teammate who ran a 31.98, Travis Quaffle. So they must have the same setup in those cars.
Yeah, they got them tuned up pretty close.
15th overall, not bad considering how he was in practice. Mark Martin right now top of speed charts with a 31.43. And here's the guy who sat on the pole a year ago. And Jimmy getting a little heat in those tires. In practice, Jimmy Johnson was second quickest. He ran a 31.46. If he duplicates that, he will still be on the outside of row 1, but will not be on the pole. But can he do it?
Well, we're going to find out right now if the track is actually faster or slower, because Jimmy Johnson is the fastest car that's yet to qualify from practice.
He's the only driver to win more than one pole here. Won it in 2003 and again last year.
So far, so good. Right here's the critical point, getting off this corner without having to crack that throttle. Looks like Jimmy's able to do that and carry that speed.
Yeah. Now, Elliott Sadler was up there too till he got between 3 and 4 and he dipped down to the line. Let's see if Jimmy's holding it, actually improving it coming out of 4.
Yeah.
Mark Martin knew there was some more speed out there. He said he'd be shocked if that pole speed held up.
Yeah, that's just what Elliott couldn't make his car do, get down to the bottom of the racetrack there in 3 and 4.
31.39, P1, brother.
Yeah, very nice lap by Jimmy Johnson.
Hey, way tight.
Even he said it was way tight.
Yeah.
Jimmy Johnson right now on the provisional pole, going to be hard to beat. Let's check in with a driver who's had a bit of a struggle this weekend.
Yeah, certainly. We're going to ask Denny Hamlin, busy watching Jimmy Johnson lay down that lap. You got anything for the 48 out here?
No, we didn't have anything for 35th place out there in practice. We struggled a bunch, but we started to make gains on it there towards the end. You know, a realistic goal for us right now in qualifying is probably going to be a top 20.
Now, I got to ask you, last week you spent some time volunteering with your coach Gibbs and JD Gibbs. Food Friends, tell me about that.
Yeah, that was great. We got to donate another Toyota Prius to Food and Friends, and once again, they deliver a lot of meals to underprivileged people each and every week, and you know, it's just a way they're giving to their community, and we're trying to give back to them. All
right, of course, Denny Hamlin helping out in the community, guys.
Yeah, Food and Friends in the metropolitan Washington area, where Joe Gibbs is very familiar as the former Redskin coach, and they do that each week. They try to go somewhere and work an entire shift to be able to help those that are in need, and that was a great effort by Denny Hamlin and that team. Here's Clint Boyer coming home, coming back to Kansas, 107 miles from his home in Emporia.
Almost kissed that wall coming off turn 4.
13th quickest at 31.88.
Clint finished second at this race a year ago. Said he grew up driving by where they were grading to build this racetrack and dreamed of someday racing it. Last year he came within one spot of winning in his home state. Bobby Labonte, next car to go out to qualify. Driving for the King Richard Petty. Second highest finishing Dodge last week at Dover, finished 14th there. Highest Dodge right now is Elliott Sadler, who is third. We got a Dodge third and a Dodge 6. So Sadler and Kane, not bad for the Dodge efforts here thus far in qualifying.
Yeah, Bobby struggled in practice. He was 41st on the timesheet then. Of course, he struggled in qualifying last week at Dover, but ended up having a reasonable race day. So I know he would rather be faster and not have to deal with coming up through all of those cars, but Bobby's experience, he was able to do that last week. You see him struggling a little bit here, but this seems to be quite a bit better than what he was in practice.
Yeah, he didn't break the 32-second bracket in practice, and it looks like he's going to do that here. He's going to, yeah, he runs a 31.82. That's a very respectable lap, 13th.
Bobby finishing his lap. Still to come, Ryan Newman, Carl Edwards, Kyle Busch, and others. But let's go down and talk to the guy right now who is on the pole. Mike?
And you know, Doc, during practice this morning, Jimmy Johnson ran into something on the racetrack. Actually split the splitter, if you will, but didn't seem to affect the race car. What'd you think of that lap?
It was a great lap. Earlier in practice, I got real loose into one and thought I was going to crash. And I went up to the marbles kind of on the outside of the line, and there was something big and heavy sitting up there waiting for me. So I shouldn't have been up there, but I hit a big orange hammer that was sitting out there. Did some damage to the car, but the guys gave me a great car off the truck and fixed the damage that took place from that. And definitely a good lap. I'm not sure if it'll hold up or not, but solid lap for the Slows Impala.
Did you feel like you might have been able to get some more out of this race car?
Not there. I mean, that was all it had for grip. We were right there on the edge, and the car was relatively balanced, maybe a little tighter than I needed, but I didn't spend much time out of the gas, and that's all you can ask for.
You've won 2 poles here at Kansas. What is it about you in qualifying here?
I don't know. We don't have this one yet. There's still a lot of good cars to go, but it's weird how statistics will show drivers and teams performing at different tracks, and this has been a good one for us qualifying-wise. We have a good finishing average here as well, and we need that, with how competitive this chase is right now.
And Doc, his starting average, 5.5, better than anybody else in the field.
A year ago, he had to go to a backup car, Mike, and because he wrecked a pole-winning car in practice and still came all the way and got a top 5 finish.
He's pretty good. Ryan Newman clocks in 11th quickest, but I'm telling you, he had that thing hung out off of turn 2.
He seems to be able to get the most out of a car on a set of tires. When they still have the stickers on them, he can get the most out of them.
I'm surprised he had any rear grip left when he got down to turn 3 and 4.
Rocket Man was only 30th or 33rd in practice. Jimmy was talking about what happened in the morning practice. Yeah, Jimmy Johnson got hammered at Kansas City. Literally, there is the orange hammer that was on the racetrack that bounced off the front of his car.
Yeah, he said he had no business being up there. He got loose getting in the corner, and like I said, he slid up there. And who knew there was going to be a hammer sitting in the groove or outside the groove?
How does that happen? I mean, who carries a hammer with them out on the racetrack?
It's a little bit careless, actually, Doc. These guys are working on, somebody was working on a car and left that hammer laying up probably up on the engine bay or up on top of the ductwork, and shut the hood and went back out for another run, and it just slipped out there on the track.
Carl Edwards, we mentioned that Clint Boyer is about 100 miles away. This is the closest track to Carl Edwards' Columbia, Missouri home. Somewhat of a home game for the points leader. Let's see what he can do.
We heard him say his car had been loose in practice, and I believe that's carrying over into a qualifying lap that he's not going to be very happy with, 31.98.
This is not good for Carl. Not going to get a good pit pick with that qualifying lap.
We mentioned that Carl and Clint, who are the 2 drivers that are trying to battle each other right now atop the Nationwide Series points, also battling in the chase. He's from Columbia, Missouri, where the University of Missouri is, which he attended. And of all the NASCAR Sprint Cup tracks, this is the closest one to his home, 129 miles away. So Carl trying to win 2 championships here in Kansas in the NASCAR Nationwide Series and NASCAR Sprint Cup. He has yet to win either series. He has 2 top 10s in Cup, only 1 in the Nationwide Series. Had a hard crash last year in the Nationwide race and destroyed his car.
We popped that Google map up there. I thought we were going to show how far back he was going to start. That's not going to be a good starting spot for him.
We mentioned last week that the lawsuit had been dropped involving Gillette Evernham and the 7 car. They thought they had an agreement to buy the car, by the team, I should say, and Robbie said no, there was no agreement. And both parties backed away and dropped the lawsuit and the possible merger. But there's other rumors circulating about the 7 car. Got some possible mergers with other teams in the sport. A couple of teams that are looking to maybe absorb another car to be able to add strength. And if you look at what's going on in the chase, the multi-car teams obviously have a bit of an advantage.
There's no doubt about that. We see Robbie clocks in 25th right now, and it's only to his benefit to get aligned with a team or to merge, whatever it's going to take, because you just can't do it out there on your own. I don't care who you are. It's just impossible to make that happen, and to have all the technology that you need and that all of the support from those other drivers and crew members and everyone that it takes to make all of this happen. To do well and compete today, you have to be aligned with that, and hopefully Robbie will find something that works for him.
One of our chase contenders, Denny Hamlin, coming off the disappointment at Dover, finishing 38th because of a rear end problem, leaking rear end.
It's actually a rear end cooler, they said. The team said that it was leaking oil. Ends up leaking all the grease out of the rear end, and then the rear end gear failed. They had to come to the garage and change it. Lost a lot of laps. There's Mike Ford, the crew chief.
We heard Denny a while ago, and it was nice to see that he gave a little bit of a sense of humor with the struggles that they had in practice. You know that he really wasn't looking forward to this lap because the car wasn't very good in practice, and sometimes that's difficult to go do, but he was able to make a little joke about it and know that they'll be better by Sunday.
If you look at the tracker, he gave it an opportunity to run a fast lap when he drove it down in turn 1. It briefly turned green, but then he lost a lot of time in the middle.
Denny has never had much luck here. In 3 visits, he has finished 32nd, 29th, and 18th. Yet to get a top 10 at Kansas, but then there's always Sunday. Race number 3 in the chase for the Sprint Cup comes your way on Sunday. Remember, there have been 6 different winners in the last 6 Kansas events. Our coverage of NASCAR Sprint Cup action at Kansas Speedway begins at 1 o'clock Eastern time with NASCAR Countdown. Alan Busick, Brad Daugherty, and Rusty Wallace, and then live flag-to-flag coverage 400 miles on ABC 1 o'clock Sunday afternoon.
This should be a real threat for the pole. Juan Pablo Montoya was 4th quick in practice. The fastest of the guys from practice that have yet to qualify.
He got down into turn 1 and to the center pretty fast.
He's right there. He's going to have to really hit this corner right, though, to have a shot. And you can see he has the same problem a lot of guys have had, is getting in that corner and be able to get down to the bottom of the racetrack, but he still carries a lot of speed off the corner. It's going the right way.
Watch out here.
Oh, baby, right there at it.
Right, got it.
It did. He did it.
He did it.
How about that?
Wow.
Juan Pablo Montoya.
That was kind of an unorthodox groove, too, to get it.
When you get here.
You saw him that high into turn 3, but he didn't waver with the throttle there, did he?
He stayed right in it.
Boys, that was impressive.
That was.
Best start of the year for that car had been 6th at Richmond back in May.
Well, here's a team that needs something good to happen, though.
Well, how about that for the Ganassi-Sabates team, if that can hold on? 31-36 for Juan Pablo Montoya, and a Dodge on the pole thus far. Let's check in where Shannon has caught up with one of the newcomers to Sprint Cup racing.
Yeah, Joey Logano in the 96 car here today. How has your day been so far?
It's been a busy one so far, you know, over here at the DLP Toyota. Just struggling a little bit, trying to get it right. It doesn't seem like we got the grip in the race car to get it going really fast. So we'll give her our best shot over here and try to get in the race. And over on the nationwide side, the GameStop Toyota seems to be a lot closer. Didn't have the fast lap we wanted, but we were able to work on it and get driving pretty good. So I think we got a pretty good car over there on the nationwide side.
Yeah, you're usually pretty calm in these situations, but knowing that you have to qualify on speed, what's it like right now for you?
It's a different feeling. I think the biggest thing that's going through my head right now is trying to get the nationwide stuff out and the cup stuff back in. The drive's so different, so kind of going through that motions there, trying to get it right.
Yeah, of course, this was a site where Joey tested an ARCA car for Joe Gibbs Racing when he was, get this, guys, 15 years old. Doc, what were you doing when you were 15 years old?
You know what? It's been a while since I was 15. I'm trying to think whether they even had pavement back then. Yeah, what a talent. Here's David Rudeman, who had such a good run going at Dover last week. Ran 4th, 5th, and 6th for much of the first half of the race.
And he kind of messed that first lap up, tried a second lap, but it's actually it's a little bit slower.
Well, do not adjust your sets at home, folks. You see the line going across top of your screen. Juan Pablo Montoya is currently our pole sitter, and Mike is with him.
And he was certainly on the radar screen after practice this morning, Doc. 4th overall, but it looked like you picked up a little bit of speed here in this qualifying run. Where'd you gain the most?
Well, I'll tell you the truth, the technical hub in Dutch this week has been amazing. Everybody, Chip Ganassi has done an amazing job. We've been getting better and better and better every week. And the result hasn't really shown it. And I think starting up front or close to the front is going to help. It's just, we unloaded good. My first lap, it was like a 90. And I think 90 is like 15th, and that was in race stream. So, we were just good. I just couldn't really put a good lap together in practice.
In particular, you mentioned the gains this organization has made. Specifically, where have you gotten better?
Just everything. How we run the cars, how we build the cars, our motors, just everybody. And I think everybody, from how we do the tires, how we, it's just, you name it, everything has changed. We knew we needed to step it up, and we have. And, I just want to thank everybody at Chip Ganassi for this.
You think this will hold up for the pole?
Whether it is or not, it's a progress. Qualifying has been a week the last few weeks, so having a good start is going to definitely help. Whether it's fifth or first, or first, it'd be great to be first, but if it's fifth, it's still pretty good.
It definitely is still pretty good, Doc. He's definitely a contender for the pole, and he may come away with it.
He would become our third first-time pole winner in 2008. Casey Mears, by the way, on the track. Casey's been very good at this racetrack. He finished fourth a year ago, finished second 2 years ago, and guys, unusually, he's taken a second lap.
He did like something on that first lap, so he tried a second, but you can see it's not going to be worthwhile. Those tires just lose so much grip as you go around this racetrack. You try a second lap, it's just not going to be faster.
Casey will clock in 9th overall of the 30 cars that have gone out to qualify. Still others to come, including Kyle Busch. Qualifying ongoing at Kansas Speedway. Here's the 17 car of Matt Kenseth coming off his best finish of the year last Sunday at Dover, where he was finishing second and dominated the day by leading the most laps, 136 laps, the most he has led all year long.
You know, that lap we saw Montoya run, he went in turn 3 and ran in real hard and stayed kind of above that big patch where a lot of guys have struggled across. And that might have been the key to him getting this pole.
Yeah, it might have. We thought that you needed to be right on the bottom like a lot of these other guys. See, Matt Kenseth got a good run going right now off of turn 2 and down the back stretch.
Let's watch how he handles this patch getting into turn 3.
He's going to be the bottom.
He's right there.
Matt's last pole came at this racetrack back in October of 2005.
He's going to miss it. He's going to be close, though. He's going to be right there. Fourth.
Yeah, nice run.
Yeah, it was.
Matt's not usually somebody that we talk about when we talk about the top 10 or anything, but he did a really nice job of qualifying there, and this is a good racetrack for him. Shannon?
Yeah, we're down here with Kyle Petty. Some big news this week, Victory Junction Gang Camp. You guys have announced a second site here in the area, Kansas City area. What's that like, knowing that this project that you guys started has now grown into something so massive?
It just humbles you, really, and that's the deal. We've seen so many kids from the East Coast and starting more in the Midwest and out West that we felt like we were never going to be able to see all the kids we could potentially see. So we decided to move to the Midwest. We've looked for about 12 months or 18 months, finally decided on this area. Jeff Berger and the guys here at the racetrack have been phenomenal to work with, but this is such a great philanthropic community. When you look at the Kansas area and the way they've embraced the sport has been phenomenal. We can't ask our sport to look after another camp, so we're going to ask the Kansas City community to look after this camp. But it's a great place to have. We're about 5 miles from here, so we're excited about being here.
Yeah, and for anyone who's been to Victory Junction Gang Camp in North Carolina, that place is just amazing. How will this one compare to the one that you guys have out there?
Hopefully about the same. It's Starbucks, McDonald's, you find a model that works, you don't change it, you know what I mean? And we're not going to change it. Dale Jarrett and Bobby Labonte were the first two guys that really helped us out. Then their fans got involved, and we're hoping it's the same phenomenon here, that when the companies here like Sprint, when the companies here like Hallmark, people like that get involved in it, that their people will help out, whether it's volunteerism or whether it's writing a check and helping us a little bit. But the community here has just been phenomenal. The governor was here this morning, so it's been a great week so far.
All right, of course, Doc, Victory Junction Gang Camp, something that this entire community is a part of.
And it will be about 5 miles from where we're sitting right now. Great area, and what a wonderful camp it has been so well received at Kyle and Patty and the whole Petty family here have started. There is David Reagan qualifying 12th overall. 32 cars have gone out.
That was a nice lap for David Reagan. 31.65. Got him a good spot right now as qualifying goes on. We see Kyle Busch onto the racetrack now and trying to make something good happen for this race team. They've had 2 weeks of struggle since we started the chase. They're still an excellent race team, can do a lot of good things in these next 8 races, but they've dug a hole that's going to be difficult to dig themselves out of as far as trying to win the championship.
Yeah, he struggled off turn 2. You see there where the tracker started off the wrong direction. He had to probably get out of the throttle over there in turn 2. Whoa, did you see that?
Yeah.
That's loose right there, people. That's power sliding at about 170.
21st on the chart. Will he take a second lap, or will we say one's enough?
No, let's see. He's still in it.
Gonna try it again.
Yeah, he's tracking over his first lap pretty well right here.
Yeah. He knew that he had to just totally get out of the throttle because you can see he was all the way off the corner before the time actually started going down. He's losing time in turn 3 because he's just totally losing the grip with the tires now.
Yeah, I think this is actually a better lap. It may not show up. It's actually a little slower on the lap time, but pretty close to his first lap.
This is the car that he simply dominated at Chicagoland with, leading 165 laps, so they expect to be a whole lot better here on Sunday. 41 car on the racetrack here at Kansas Speedway in Kansas City, Kansas. Dale Jarrett, Andy Petrie, I'm Jerry Punch. Glad to have you with us. Right now it is Juan Pablo Montoya on the pole, a 32-year-old Colombian driver, trying to hold on to his first career pole in his 66th start in NASCAR Sprint Cup racing.
Reed's teammates on the pole right now.
Yeah, he had to be kind of excited to know that his teammates capable of doing that. I don't know if their setups were anywhere close.
It looks pretty close right here. Ooh, man, he got all there was off turn 2. He's a little behind Montoya's lap.
Yeah, Reed in practice was 22nd quickest. Bit of a wiggle there, getting the car as he comes all the way across the racetrack.
Yeah, pretty decent lap, 31.71, 17th quickest right now.
Check in where Shannon is caught up with Awesome Bill.
That's right, down here with Bill Elliott, of course, who had a great practice session today, 12th fastest. What do you expect out of this car today in this qualifying session?
Well, we still made several changes, and it's just going to depend on how well we hit it. I mean, you know, everything in this business is such a fine line of getting the right thing. And, you know, for us on the Motorcraft Ford, it's just trying to get the things sorted out. You know, Hyder and I and the guys are still trying to learn each other and work together and do that sort of thing. But, you know, at least we started out well. We just hope we end up well at the end of the day.
All right, expect great things out of this car, guys. 12th fastest in practice this morning. That's pretty good.
Very good, Shannon. He was in the top 5 for a while, then the top 10, ended up in the top 12 when that session was over. Here's Kevin Harvick, and as I said in the morning session, my buddy Lee Corso talks about people who just keep hanging there and are sneaking around the chicken coop. Here's a guy that keeps moving up, 8 consecutive top 10 finishes, moving up every week in the chase.
What does he say, sneaking around what?
Sneaking around the chicken coop.
Well, he's trying to sneak around, but he's going the wrong way here in qualifying.
Yeah, well, he's getting real loose off 4.
Yeah, but he is doing a great job in the races. Just being consistent. I know they want to get to where they can challenge for a victory.
He's got to sneak up on him again on Sunday because he's going to start back there a good way. That's 30th of 35.
Him say really loose. I think that's been
we'll give him
case.
that.
Yeah.
It sure looked loose.
Yeah, about 90% of the cars out there. You know, it's funny that a couple of the guys that we heard about their cars that they said that they were tight or second and third. Yeah, with Jimmy Johnson and Mark Martin.
Maybe that's the way you need to be. A little bit tight. This is not tight.
Yeah, just chasing it around right there. You could see the back end of the car, just no grip at all.
These next 10 drivers are the ones that are going to have to make it on time and speed. Now, 8 of these 10 will get in. 2 will go home. We do have 45 cars here. Michael McDowell, the 23-year-old Arizona native.
Okay, he really needs to make something happen here. He was 44th out of 45 cars in practice. So he's going to have to really dig deep here and get a lap if he's going to make this show.
You can see he didn't get back to the throttle and carrying that speed. He really lost time getting into one. That carried all the way around that corner and off of turn 2 and down the backstretch. He was just a few hundredths off of the car that was in front of him in practice, but those guys, some of the ones that were right in front of him have picked up also.
Now he picks it up just barely from practice, a few hundredths.
Yeah, Michael and Johnny Sauter were the 2 slowest of the cars that went out to practice.
Now you'll see some of these guys run a second lap because they have to do something to get in this race. And he knows that's very borderline, the lap he just ran. So he's going to try everything he can to pick it up.
It doesn't look like this lap's going to be as good, which is what we expected. There's only one car that's actually picked up in his second lap, and that was Scott Riggs.
And that's only 5 cars that have actually run more than 1 lap, run 2 laps.
33rd overall.
You said, Andy, that's the first car of the cars that have to qualify on time, and that's going to be very borderline as to whether he's going to. There was one other car that was slower than Michael in practice, and it was quite a bit slower, but be interesting to see if these others go on.
Yeah, he still has to outrun 2 of these guys to get in the show.
Patrick Carpentier, he was the, we've told you there have been 2 first-time pole winners in 2008. This is one of them. He won the pole at New Hampshire.
Coming to the green here, he looked like he had that same line as Montoya getting into 3. Let's see if that's the way he's going to run his lap when he gets there.
Yeah, that's a lot like you saw Elliott Sadler and Casey Kane, and so being teammates, I think they've probably told him, although he's a lot higher there than he needs to be.
Yeah, he's doing that. And
but the car's cutting back down.
Haven't seen many guys do that.
No. You ask him, I don't think that's exactly where he would have wanted to be, but it carried a lot of speed off the corner and got him back in a reasonable spot, headed down the backstretch. You see him back out a little bit early there, trying to pick the throttle up quicker. He carries some speed off of turn 4.
Yeah, he's got a pretty good lap right here. This is going to be solid enough for him to be in the show.
Yeah, definitely. Good lap, 19th, 31.75.
Tell you, Patrick's a qualifying machine, isn't he?
There's nothing lacking in his qualifying efforts and ability to get the car set up to go fast.
And his best lap in practice was a 31.96, so much better as he hangs on.
Yeah, this one's not going to be the one.
And I think if I were his crew chief, I'd have been calling him off anyway.
Yeah, I think I would have.
Time, I mean,
once you see that 70 he ran, I believe that, you know, that's solid, plenty solid to be in the show. Let's don't tear this thing up. He runs a couple laps and a lot slower the second, but good job on that first lap.
Next car to go out should be the 78 car. That is front row Joe Nemechek, who's the only driver to win at Kansas from the pole. He did it here in 2004. In fact, he swept both events after that weekend, won the NASCAR Nationwide Series race on Saturday from 19th starting spot, and then won the Cup race from the pole.
Joe was 42nd on the chart. He ran a 32.10 in practice. Michael McDowell just ran a 32.09. So that's really what he's looking to beat, although his time's being compared to Patrick Carpentier, who is the 19th fastest car right now.
So right now Joe is quicker than Patrick. And then losing it coming off of turn 2.
I think that just kind of shows you the line that Patrick Carpentier took going into turn 1 was a little unorthodox, and it looked like he lost time there to the pole sitter at the time, and now you see Joe gaining on him in that section.
Yeah, 2 different ways to go about it. You can drive it off down in there, down on the bottom, and get there quicker, but you lose time coming off, and you see that's exactly what happened, and it hurt the back straightaway speed.
Okay, he just beat Michael McDowell by 0.006 of a second.
Yeah.
That could be big.
It's that could be exactly what happened to put him into the race. We'll see what happens as we move on, but he had to beat that car to feel like that he had a really decent chance. See, he's running that second lap, as I'm sure.
If he could see what we see, he probably wouldn't. If he could see the tracker here.
And he will be slower coming by, so we'll take his first lap, which puts him second of the 3 cars that are trying to make it on time and speed. That will indeed lock in Patrick Carpentier. He only had to beat 2, and there are 2 slower than him in the 10 car.
Just tell you what a hard deal that is to know that you have to drive your way in here. You know that your first lap wasn't great, but you need to make that second lap, and you know that your car's not driving that good, and the tires are going to give up on the second lap. So that's just hard. I mean, I admire these guys and have a greater appreciation for what they go through because I went through some of that myself in the last year and a half, and it's just a tough thing to do, and these guys really fight it out every week.
Here's a young man who doesn't have that experience much yet. He's 18 years of age, Joey Logano, making only his second, or attempting to make his second career start. We are comparing him to Joe Nemechek, who is the fastest of the go-or-go-homers that have yet to get in the field. That's who he's got to beat to lock himself in.
Yeah, that was a pretty nice corner there. I'm not sure he's old enough to have any nerves yet, so I don't think that factors in.
It looks like he's going to be, if he can carry it off this corner, he's going to lock himself in. Yeah, he's going to do that.
Nice.
He's in the show.
Yeah, that was a nice corner there.
And 24th overall, so he will lock himself in, and
that'll be good. That will be good.
Yeah, picked up about a 1/10 and a half from his practice speed.
Yeah, that was a crew chief saying that'll be good. Now let's just bring it on in. That's
awesome job, buddy. That's the way to step up. 31.91.
Let's go down and visit where Mike is caught up with Mike.
And an anxious Michael McDowell. I mean, Doc, we've got these monitors down here so that we can keep up with what's going on in the telecast. Well, Michael's been looking at our monitor as much as I have. What have you been noticing?
Well, you know, we just unloaded struggling with the Champion Mortgage Toyota today, and you know, we just it's going to be close there. You know, I don't know where we're standing right now, but man, I hope we get this thing in the race. Got to get it back in the top 35, and you know, everybody on Michael Waltrip Racing has been doing a great job. We've been on a roll, but for some reason we're just struggling with our cars a little bit today, and even David Rudeman, who's been qualifying up in the top 10, we're just a little bit off today, and you know, hopefully we'll get in and be able to work on our race car.
You're in 36th position right now on the speed chart. What do you think? Is it good enough?
Well, you know, I don't know right now. It's going to be tight. You know, it's I think we got one we got to beat, and then you know, I think the 45, maybe the 08. We'll see if we can outrun those guys.
Good luck.
Thanks.
McDowell certainly on the bubble, Doc.
He mentioned they want to get in the top 35. They are 8 points away from being 35th. They're 8 points behind Robbie Gordon in the 7 car. Here's Kyle Petty.
Yeah, he's not going to get any help from Kyle to get in the show. He's definitely in solid. You see by that green, he outruns Logano even. 21st quick.
Good qualifying effort for Kyle Petty in the 45. Already been a big weekend, as you mentioned. The Victory Junction Gang Camp making their official announcement. They will open up a second camp just 5 miles away, and Kyle Petty solidly in the field for Sunday's race. Back in a moment. Round 3 in the chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup comes your way from Kansas Speedway Sunday at 1 o'clock Eastern Time on ABC. Our coverage begins with NASCAR Countdown. Alan Bestwick, Brad Daugherty, and Rusty Wallace. Mile-and-a-half oval in the Heartland, NASCAR's greatest drivers. 400 miles, 267 laps. Who will it be? Who will win round 3? We'll let you know on Sunday afternoon. Sam Hornish out to try to get this car qualified. The 77 car, the Penske Dodge.
Yeah, that thing hung out coming off turn 2 also, but it's carrying a lot of speed off of there.
Yeah, you can see he was tracking pretty solid right there, and a little glitch in it, but he's going to make it no problem here.
Well, he will lock himself in by beating Joe Nemechek, and he is the 3rd quickest overall of the cars that must get in on time and speed. Sam Hornish, a good effort, 22nd fastest.
I think we've seen a lot of improvement in Sam as he gets used to these cars and trying to run these different racetracks that he hasn't been on, and seeing a lot of them for the 2nd time now, but just a lot of progress being made, and you see it in his qualifying effort, and then you see that happening in the races. He still has some work to do, and I think he'll be the first to admit that, you know, there's still a learning curve for him. But I think if you look in comparison, his 2 experienced teammates are struggling a lot on the racetrack in the races too. So let's not just judge him by what you see in his finishes.
Next car to go out to qualify will be Marcus Ambrose, who's going to make his 7th start of the year. This is the car that's actually owned by JTG Daugherty Racing. That is Tad and Jody Geschechter and Brad Daugherty. Of course, Marcus drove the Wood Brothers car to an impressive 3rd place finish at Watkins Glen. There is Frankie Kerr, who is the crew chief on this car.
32.09 is what he has to beat.
Yeah, he ran good in practice, and that was a nice line he took into turn 1. You can see him up the racetrack a little bit, but the car gets down and he carries some speed off, although he's hurting it a little bit right there. Couldn't get back, but he's going to be in plenty safe.
Oh, yeah, he's going to be in top 20 possibly. 20th.
Yeah, nice effort. Frankie Kerr will be calling him in.
That's good, bud. That's good. Bring it home. Bring it home.
Boy, qualifying, that's what you want to hear. You don't even have to hear the crew chief say anything. If you just hear that radio click, then you know that he's calling you in. That's a good sign.
Next car to go out is Awesome Bill from Dawsonville. And we mentioned earlier in our broadcast that he was among the top 10 in much of the session this morning. Ended up 12th overall but good laps in the Wood Brothers Ford.
What we're going to do, we're going to actually compare his lap time to the pole sitter here, because we think he might have a legitimate shot at it here.
We mentioned that Juan Pablo Montoya is on the pole, and what a shot in the arm that is for Chip Ganassi and Felix Sabates Racing. What would this mean for the Wood Brothers if Bill Elliott could put this car on the pole or maybe on the front row?
Well, he's going to find something, but he was pretty good in practice. Like you said, he was 12th. I could tell by when we interviewed him down there that he felt a little bit of tension going into this lap because he knew he had something good here.
Yeah, I think that may be the only reason we won't see him maybe get as close to the pole as what we could if he didn't know that he just has to make a good solid lap to get into the race. You heard him talk about it. He seemed like he had a lot of confidence in his crew chief, David Hyder. Got a good lap going here, ain't he?
Yeah, he's only a 10th off the pole halfway around the lap down the backstretch. This is going to be good right here, guys.
Again, we're comparing him to Montoya, the pole sitter. So this could be a top 10 run here for Bill Elliott. We'll see where he can climb by.
Oh, yeah.
Great job.
Nice. Nice.
All righty, buddy. Good job. Good job.
I did.
31.58. 31.58.
That David Hyder, he really is a great crew chief. He's done a lot with this car and this team. Everywhere he goes, he seems to bring something to him.
Yeah, smart guy. Just gets that. He works so much on the front end of the cars and making the cars drive good, and very impressive. And glad to see it for Bill Elliott, David Hyder, and Eddie and Lynn Wood. They need some good things to happen so they can secure some sponsorship for next year for this race team.
16-time most popular driver in NASCAR. Bill Elliott, the 1988 NASCAR Cup Series champion, and how about Bill possibly starting in the top 10 on Sunday?
He's going to start in the top 10. There's only 2 cars yet to qualify.
And neither one of them are going to probably beat him, and he's going to come close.
And he's 8th, so both of them beat him. He's still in the top 10.
This is going to be a fight, these last two, to see actually who's going to be in this race Sunday and who's going to load up this afternoon and go home.
32.09 or better will get him in.
He wasn't very fast in practice, ran 32.77.
Well, he's going to find a lot if he's going to make this show.
Comparing him to Joe Nemechek now in 39th.
He may be a little quicker than he was in practice, but right now it's not going to be good enough to get the job done and get him in the race. I'm sure we'll see a second lap.
Yeah, he's not going to hear his crew chief click in and say this is good. This is not where he wants to be. He's the slowest of the cars that have gone out so far.
He picked up about 0.4 of a second from his practice lap and practice speed, but he's going to have to get a lot more, and you can see he's going the wrong way.
Wrong direction.
So he will not qualify unless he can pick this one up significantly, and that's not going to happen by looking at the tracker here on this second lap.
You can see him working the car as hard as he's driving, as hard as it'll go. It's just not there. So he is officially out of the race.
Yeah, that lap.
Well, Tony Raines has to beat Michael McDowell. 32.096 is what McDowell ran, and only 2 cars will not make it. Johnny Sauter is out. Will it be the 70 car or will it be the 00? McDowell 40th on your screen. You see the 32.096 that Tony's going to have to beat. Tony was actually 38th quickest in practice, so he should be able to. He ran a 32.04 in the practice session.
If he backs that up, he's in for sure.
And it's always difficult to go out here and get it done when you know you have to.
Tony's pretty solid, though. He's the guy I'd want in there.
Yeah, good qualifier most of the time. We saw him put down a good lap last week at Dover. He's ahead of pace right now, about a 10th of a second. You can tell he got out of the gas, let the car roll right there. Looks like he's going to be plenty safe here as he exits turn 4.
That 0.06 of a second Joe Nemechek got on Michael McDowell. Looks like it made the difference for him because Michael McDowell will go home with that lap right there. Good lap for Tony Raines, is 26th.
So the 2 that will not make it.
Good, Tony, that's good. You can back it down there, bud. We're in the show. Good job. 31.889. Good job.
Couldn't have said it better. Good job, Tony Raines, in the show at 26th overall. So Michael McDowell and the 08 of Johnny Sauter will not qualify. So it is official. We have our third first-time pole sitter in 2008. and first ever pole for 32-year-old Colombian driver Juan Pablo Montoya. In his 66th career start, Montoya puts the Dodge for Chip Ganassi and Felix Sabates on the pole. We'll talk to him in just a moment. Qualifying at Kansas Speedway has concluded, and it is Juan Pablo Montoya who will lead him down. Jimmy Johnson on the outside of row 1. As you take a look at our starting grid, note only 2 Chase drivers are in the top 10. And guys, 7 of the drivers in the Chase will start 25th or worse.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting on Sunday. And how about that 4th row right there? Paul Menard, Bill Elliott.
Yeah, Brian Vickers able to hang in the top 10. He was the first car out.
Greg Biffle back in 19th spot. The guy who's won both the Chase events thus far inside of Patrick Carpentier.
A.J. Allmendinger with the 15th starting spot there on Sunday. Another good effort from him.
Marcus Ambrose driving for the first time in the 47 car. A very respectable qualifying effort for his Ford.
Not used to seeing Kyle Busch starting 28th right there in that 14th row. It'll be exciting to watch, as will Denny Hamlin here starting on row 16.
Look at these guys back here. You see Kevin Harvick back there, some of the other guys in the Chase. Tony Stewart back there outside of row 21. And Joe Nemechek, the former winner from the pole here, will start 43rd. Let's go down and visit with our pole sitter, Shannon.
Down here with Juan Pablo Montoya, your pole sitter. Juan, you've had a win, a handful of top 5s. Where does this rank?
Way up there this year. You know, this year has been a rough year for us. You know, this week, you know, Texaco and Dutch this week has been amazing. And, you know, last few weeks we've been a lot stronger, you know, running the top 10 during the day and, you know, struggled a little bit in qualifying. Here we really came with the mindset we needed to start further up front, and we unloaded and it was fast. Straight out the truck was good.
Yeah, you came out of your motorhome and you seemed pretty calm, but your crew chief, Brian Patty, on the other hand, looked a little bit out of wits. Tell me what was going on with him.
You know, we want this so bad. We want to run good so bad. Everybody in the Ganassi car wants to run good so bad that it's like, let's not jinx this, you know, so it's pretty exciting.
All right, they definitely didn't jinx it. Juan Pablo Montoya starts from the pole here at Kansas.
Congratulations to Juan Pablo Montoya. He has started second 3 times in his career, but for the first time, he is a pole sitter in this, his 66th start. Coming up next here from Kansas Speedway, NASCAR Nationwide Series final practice. And of course, NASCAR now wrapping up tonight at 7 o'clock Eastern time. NASCAR Nationwide Series action here at Kansas tomorrow. Live flag to flag, 300 miles, 200 laps. NASCAR Sprint Cup Happy Hour tomorrow at 6:30 Eastern. NHRA action tomorrow, qualifying at 10:30 Eastern time. And Sunday at 1 o'clock Eastern time, NASCAR Sprint Cup action round 3 in the chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup on ABC at 1 o'clock Eastern time. Stay tuned, folks. We'll be right back with the NASCAR Nationwide Series cars from Kansas Speedway in just a moment.